Hello kiddies, hope you've had a cracking week, been another busy one here. Your Uncle Spurt just got back from Milan, where I sodded off to for the OnePlus launch type shenanigans, which thankfully mostly took place inside because outside it was 35 pissing degrees. Seriously, if I actually ventured into the sun for more than about 3.5 seconds, it felt like my flesh was about to slough off my skull like the Nazi at the end of Raiders. But the launch was really good. It was actually the first time that any brand has quoted me during their presentation, which was slightly mental. And fair play to OnePlus for actually finding a quote that didn't include any harsh language or references to the male genitalia. It sounded altogether far too sensible and sober for something that came out of my mouth, but fair enough. I'll take it at the word that I said it. And I've actually joined forces with OnePlus for a bit of a competition type situation, so 10 lucky Spurtans can win themselves a fresh new Node 4 smartphone. It's a proper metal bastard like those banging LG and HTC blowers from back in the day, and I rather like it a lot. The competition link should be down there in the video description below my baldy chatty bonds if I didn't forget to put it in there obviously. So go give that a poke if you fancy yourself a free phone without all the hassle of shoplifting. But of course the Node 4 isn't the only fresh new blower to launch this week, oh no, because out in China, Honor just spaffed out a fresh new bendy wonder, the Magic V3. And Honor's already confirmed that the Magic V3 will launch globally soon, so hopefully it won't be a half-year wait like the last sodden time. Let's have ourselves a wee gander at what to expect after, of course, some splendid jingle action. Tech Spurt Weekly! Now, the Honor Magic V2 finally landed in the UK at the arse end of January, many months after it originally actually launched. And it was a bit of a cracker, certainly as far as the hardware goes. But now, just 6 months later, the V2 has already been succeeded by the Honor Magic V3, which goes on sale in China this very merry day. The V2 stood out from other bendy blowers because it was stupidly ridiculously thin, even skinnier than an iPhone, although to be fair, most house bricks are thinner than those overpriced slabs. But all the same, Honor has managed to shave off a wee bit more for the Magic V3, which is now just a woodlouse's chuff thicker than 9mm when it's all folded up, which is about 3mm thinner than the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. And this slightly mental and ludicrous design is mostly possible thanks to Honor's clever bollocks silicon carbon battery tech, which is now also in its 3rd generation. So the Magic V3's battery is bigger than before at 5,150 mAh, woof! Offering a much greater capacity than the Z Fold 6's piddly 4,400 mAh effort. While you've also, on top of that, got faster 66-watt wired charging and 50-watt wireless charging. And the rest of the specs are just as spooge-worthy, starting with, of course, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which is stuffed inside of that skinny chassis and runs the show. So just like the Magic V2, you should be able to do whatever you want on this thing. You've also got a 6.43-inch 120Hz OLED screen slapped on the front, with all the usual posh bollocks, including PWM dimming. While the flexible panel inside is a near 8-inch whopper with pretty much bugger all crease, much like the Magic V2. And then slapped on that arse end, you've got a 50meg main camera backed by a 40meg ultra-wide and 50meg telephoto shooters. That last one serving up a 3.5x optical zoom. So hopefully no compromises made in the camera department despite the fact you've got an incredibly skinny foldable design. Oh, and the Honor Magic V3 is also IPX8 water resistant, so this skinny pocket rocket can get rather wet, no worries. Now the Honor Magic V3 should launch globally in the next couple of months or so. Maybe it'll be an IFA special which kicks off around the sort of start of September time, and no doubt for a price that'll make your eyes water faster than an uppercut to the nads. You can probably expect it to come in at around 1700 GBPs, same as the Magic V2. And Honor has also launched a secondary version of the Honor Magic V3 known as the Magic VS3, which runs instead on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 from the previous year, and overall sounds quite similar to just the Honor Magic V2, so I'm not really sure what the point of that one is. Of course, the other big question is, will we see another special edition Porsche model of the Honor Magic V3 designed to rinse out the bank accounts of tiny penis sports car enthusiasts? Definitely let us know what's buzzing around in that old skull of yours down in the comments below. And that's all that. Now it's time to go from unbelievably thin to unbelievably thick. It's viewer comments. Viewer comments. So let's start this week with Seeker, who says, I don't understand this guy. And it's got to the point now where I'm basically getting this comment every single week, and I guess that's what subtitles are for. Jesse Boy says, Chris, are you a teetotaler? Is loads of beer in your bag just a facade that creates the always tipsy Uncle Spurt persona? That would be a twist. Yeah, that would be a twist, on par with M. Night Shyamalan, whatever his name is. But unfortunately, sorry to disappoint, I am very much not a teetotaler. In fact, the whole reason I became a tech journalist in the first place was because of booze. See, back when I actually had a proper job, I used to write for a video games website on the side just to get free games mostly. It was mostly just news stuff and reviews, but one evening they actually asked me to attend a London game launch event for some sort of zombie game. I think it was Left 4 Dead, something like that. And they didn't actually pay the people who wrote for them, but they told me it was actually going to happen in a pub, so I immediately signed up. So got there nice and early before it all kicked off, strode up to the bar, ordered a pint of Stella. It was about sort of 2007 at the time, so that was actually quite a posh option, don't judge me. Had my fiver ready to hand over. Again, this was 2007. And the guy was like, oh no, put that away, mate. It's fine, it's free bar all night. And I just froze. I just stared at him with a look of absolute wonder, like Sam Neill and them when they first step into Jurassic Park. Needless to say, I don't remember much about that particular launch, and I think my game impressions write-up was mostly about how difficult it was even to open a door and get out of the first room, because I'd had about 8 pints of f***ing Stella by that point. And that, kiddies, is the story of why your Uncle Spurt became a tech journalist in the first place and then migrated onto YouTube wanker. Next up, Mythic Sons says, gotta say, I miss 3D Doritos. I forgot those were even a thing, yeah. That and KP cheese and onion crisps in their confusingly green packaging. And the one that bloody filled me every time was Soddin Walkers with their cheese and onion that comes in a blue packet, which, you know, every time I would expect salt and vinegar. Because, of course, neither cheese nor onion is blue. And admittedly, neither are salt and vinegar, but you know, you think of blue, you think of the sea, fish and chips, salt and vinegar. That's how my brain sort of processes it. Anyway, David Beckham and Thierry Henry can shove it right up their hairy arseholes. And speaking of football, Jason McMeekin says, England made it! Yes, England were in the finals of the Euros, and I missed every goddamn second of that match. Yeah, stupidly agreed to fly out to Milan on the Sunday evening, not realising at all that of course it was the evening of the bloody final. You know, landed pretty much on time. It was only about 20 minutes into the first half, I think, so I thought, hooray, might actually get to see some of this. Unfortunately, the Italian airport ground staff had very different ideas. They reacted to our plane landing in much the same way a cat would react to its owner falling down the stairs. I.e. a quick casual glance our way, and then they just got on with licking their balls. I kid you not, we sat in that plane on that bloody runway for about half an hour before one of them begrudgingly decided to drive over the stairs so we could get off the thing. So by the time I actually made it through passport control and onto a bus, the second half had already kicked off. And of course, England managed to equalise, and I was like, oh, I might go to extra time and penalties, I might still actually see some of the action. And then of course, no, Spain had to go and score, and the final whistle literally blew just as I was pulling up to the central station. Bum flaps. And Jason continues, as for smartphones, any news on the HMD Global Lumias? And yes, indeedy, the video should be going live imminently. I'm talking, you know, a couple of days or so once I actually get around to editing the bugger. I will strive to do that this very weekend whenever I'm not drinking or drunk or curled up in a ball crying in the shower. Captain America says, had to Google this Jimmy Savile, wish I hadn't. Yeah, sorry, that is one particularly long and deep pit of despair right there. Apologies for f***ing up your Friday. Respawn Revenge says, yo, I just copped the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, but I'm kind of bummed that Spigen, I never know how to pronounce that one, doesn't make cases for most Chinese phones. Yeah, at least most of the Chinese guys, they do tend to bung the old condom case in the box with their phones. That's something, if not the most glamorous of covers, obviously. But the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, if you do a lot of photography on it, which I'm assuming you do, because that's the main reason for buying that phone, definitely spunk out just a few extra quid on the camera kit, because that comes with a really nice covery case type thing, which just helps for the grip and all that stuff. I explained that really well, didn't I? Kino Masu says, there's something on your head, Uncle Spurt. Yeah, So perhaps unsurprisingly, quite a few of the comments in last week's show were about the bit of bloody fluff that was velcroed to my head for most of it. Here's just a few. Sage Noodle says, "You've honestly got no idea how much it made me happy when you removed the fluff." Yeah, I really should invest in one of those proper massive viewfinder jobbies so I can see any of those sticky wee f***ers before I actually start shooting. Or you know, I could just once in a while glance in a mirror, I guess. Ugh. The Bismarck says, "With how much head fluff talk there is in the comments, you would assume it was the headliner, a real head scratcher." And 656-77332 says, "The fluff on his bald head is probably TP that he's been rubbing in, trying to get his hair grown there just like it did on his arse." Is TP even still a thing? I don't know, I wouldn't dare to rub any of that stuff anywhere on my body because first of all, I've no idea what it is. It could be made of asbestos as far as I'm aware. And second of all, I don't want to smell like a geriatric on a bus. Now, we do actually have some comments about the Oppo Find X phones as well, which was the actual subject of last week's video. 5 Feet of Fury says, "The camera on the Oppo looks like a swollen eye. Ooh, not really a fan then, I take it." Over 9000 says, "Owners of the X7 Ultra, please hit the like button. Let's see how many of us not give a f*** if Oppo goes next year to the EU." And Alessandro Balestrini says, "That's all well and good, but I won't rest until us Americans get it. P.S. I'm from Italy, and those mispronunciations were wild." I did actually try speaking a wee bit of Italian while I was out in Milan this week, and the general result was a local staring at me like I just asked to take a shit in their shoe. Which, to be fair, I probably had. McCluskey says, "My mate last week dislocated his finger pulling up his pants." Well, that's what he told you, at least. But yeah, Christ, that must have been fun explaining that one down A&E. Got some more mobile game suggestions here as well. SSO Records 1 says, "Genshin is not a high-intensity game. Zenless Zen Zero is." And Dragosk8326 agrees. He says, "Instead of Genshin Impact, you could try Wuthering Waves or Zenless Zen Zero." Yeah, I think I am going to swap to the Zenless Zen Zero from now on for my test. And I'll start with the old Galaxy Z Fold 6, see how that handles it. It's supposed to be pretty resource heavy, and also I've heard it's not quite as mental or indecipherable as Genshin Impact. I can just about handle walking from one place to another, occasionally punching things in the face along the way. That's pretty much my level right now. Couple of requests here. Amino Magatsu says, "Are you going to review the new Galaxy Buds 3 Pro, Mr. Tech Squirter?" And RJ Stream says, "Where is the video of the Samsung Watch Ultra?" Well, that and the Fold and the Buds and all that stuff coming imminently, I promise. It's the usual problem, kiddies. Too much tech, only one Uncle Spurt. The Master 711 says, "I do love myself a Squircle, to be fair, so I'm okay with the Watch Ultra design, but why not extend that screen to the full frame?" Yeah, it is a seriously bezel-y bugger. Kind of mixed feelings about it, got to admit. I don't want to spoil the review or anything like that, but I'm not liking it as much as the old OnePlus Watch. Definitely be trying to get the 2R on the go, which just launched this week, although it's a minor upgrade, I would say, over the original OnePlus 2. Certainly as far as the specs and stuff look anyway. Grebo and Gaspard says, "I'm glad you brought up the ball ache of getting old PC titles working, as I've been trying to get my ancient Discworld games to work. Got it on CD-ROM and floppy disk, and I'll be buggered if I can figure out how to do it. So if a tech genius like you struggles, there's no hope for me." And first of all, tech genius is far too kind, sir, but thank you. And floppy disks is giving me Vietnam-style flashbacks now to every time I basically bought a game on the old 3.5 inches, I think it was. You get about 7 of those discs in the box and guarantee you'd get to disc 6 in the installation process and it'd be like, "No, corrupt files, f*** you." So you'd have to get back on the sodden bus, go all the way back into town to go to Smith's or John Menzies or wherever it was you got it from to swap it for another copy if they even had one. Kids these days, they don't know they're born. Urgh. Do love me those Discworld games though. I'm definitely a big fan of the old point and click adventures and stuff from back in the day. Still try and occasionally play a bit of a one, but Jesus Christ, time, etc. But yeah, man, those were vicious. They were so hard, especially that first one. I think I got a mere fraction into that, maybe about 3 screens in. It was back in the day before internet walkthroughs came to the rescue of impatient thickies like myself. Ipostays2 says, "Speaking of old childhood games, has anyone played Scorched Earth under DOS? I've never played that one, but I'll open it up to the Spartan army." Better make this the last one because I banged on for far too long. Migi LUFC says, "My god, the man likes 2000 trees. I'd love to go to that festival. Report back on which bands you see, and more importantly, how hammered you get." Well, that one's easy. How hammered did you get? The answer is considerably. I was mostly smashed out my brains before we even saw the first act, which was Crawlers for us, who I think only turned up for about 20 minutes of their set because the tyre fell off their van or something like that. But managed to see quite a few bands. We saw Tropic Gold, saw Nova Twins, saw Hot Milk. My absolute favourite though, and I knew they would be, were good old Blood Command, who had an absolutely banging set in a tiny tent at the other end of the festival. Despite being far too old for the shenanigans, I did launch myself into the mosh pit, and it actually turned out pretty well. I think I only broke about 3 ribs this time. Didn't lose my shoe, massive bonus. Did get kicked in the head a bit by the lead singer when she decided to hoy herself into the crowd, but you know, I've got a pretty thick skull, it's all good. But yeah, the next day can be summed up in a single solitary word: pain. I actually, just for I think like a minute or two, passed out in the toilet on the train on the way home the following morning, so I think that sums it up quite nicely. Anyway, a massive thank you to everyone who commented last week. Great stuff as always, even those who just said, "Ah, you had fluff on your head, you bald twat." Please do smash your comments down below. We will merrily prance our way through as many of those as possible next week. And speaking of next week, next week, what the f is next week? So next week I've got pretty much all in the calendar, which is frankly a miracle. That'll definitely do me, because I've got quite a lot to catch up on. As previously mentioned, we got a few Samsung-y bits. So I've got my my SIM in the old Z Fold at the moment. I'm also doing a comparison with that and the Vivo Fold as well, so hopefully get something on the go there. Got the Watch Ultra to review. My Buds review is in the can, I think, now. I've also got my hands on something that's incredibly limited edition, so hopefully I'll be able to spaff out something on that very soon indeed. So yeah, so quite a lot of stuff to come. So please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell if you haven't done so all bloody ready. More importantly, have yourselves an absolutely fan-bloody-tastic weekend. Cheers everybody, I love you!